Up to mighty London came an Irishman one day, as the streets are paved with gold, for everyone was gay, singing songs of Piccadilly, and let them swear, till Paddy got excited, then he shouted to them there, oh, it's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go, it's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know.
They say that this war will end all wars. The sergeant's saliva catches onto his black, well-groomed mustache. But do not let it be the war to end your resolve, or our empire. At that, multiple men in the trench let out a yell of pride, some throwing their fists into the air. As I see artillery shells being lobbed across our own lines and into enemy territory, I check to make sure that my service rifle has a full magazine. Opening the bolt reveals that all 10 bullets are, in fact, ready for battle. The kid next to me doesn't look as ready. Kid seems fitting, as his helmet covers most of his forehead as it shakes with the rest of his body and his rifle bolt. Nervous? I ask, as we wait for our artillery to finish shelling the enemy lines. The kid just shakes in place, having to push his helmet off his eyes to look up at me. And don't be. I've been in a few battles now, and I know the look of a survivor. You have that look. I can make out a small, momentary smile on his face as he takes comfort from my words. But the silence of the lack of artillery and following sharp screech of the whistle interrupt us. "Stand fast and strong!" the sergeant yells. "For king and country!" Silver's revolver in hand, he climbs up over the precipice of the trench, and a mass of men in our Carnegie uniforms march towards ledges and ladders to follow behind. After climbing up the ladder, I'm surprised by how little damage our bombardment actually caused. Aside from a few craters, most of the ground is consumed by golden wheat, stretching far out into the countryside, with small patches of varied wildflowers dancing within. Looking at the scene, it seems like a peaceful one, with the whizzing of machine gun fire, the distant booms of explosions, and the cries of men, old and young, as they disappear into the wheat, suggest anything but peace. We are ordered to march onwards through the field, and I occasionally fire a shot towards the German lines. I can't actually see them, save for a few sandbags and messes of barbed wire where the entrances are. Finally, after marching for what seems like an eternity, we are told to charge with all our might. Holding my rifle level with my hip, bayonet pointed outward, my feet carry me at speeds I didn't know I can go, all the way into the German trench. My bayonet finds its way into the gut of the Jerry, almost getting stuck in what I assume are the ribs. Yanking my rifle free, I turn it to face another enemy soldier. These wide eyes and lack of a gun in hand don't stop me from pulling the trigger, my own eyes closed. It is now well afternoon, and we have taken the trench. After my initial scuffle, most of my time consisted of walking through the defenses, finding most of the Hun willing to surrender or already falling back. Now, setting up our own positions, I work with an older man who introduced himself as Daniel to clear out some of the bodies. "We took this one quick, eh?" I attempt to start a conversation with the elder. "You can bet they won't give up the next one so easily." Daniel's gruff voice is barely above a whisper. We proceed to toss out one of the gray-clad corpses from the trench, and he looks at me, continuing, "This isn't your first battle, is it, lad?" "I fought at Mons, sir, right after I joined up in 1914. Why do you ask?" You seem unaffected by what we've done here. Only 2 years of this and you're already insensitive." This question catches me off guard, and I can't do much but respond weakly. "Well, you look like you've seen your share of war, if you don't mind me saying." We start carrying another body, Daniel grabbing the arms while I grab the feet. "Forgive me, but I'd think you'd be used to it." We toss out the body, then Daniel closes his tan trench coat onto his bosom. "I've been in wars before, son. Let me tell you, this is no war. It's a nightmare. Never in my 30 years of service have I seen so many men mowed down like what happened today. I'm telling you, these are the first steps of the reckoning. It starts with the slaughter. Soon, we will witness death upon his pale horse, with hell following him." I can't shake that image out of my head as we continue to toss out the bodies, and as we carry on, it begins to feel like their blank, lifeless eyes are staring back at me. Luckily, a runner calls for me just as I begin to hear whispers. "Private Riley? Private Thomas Riley?" That's me. I stand to face the young man, who appears to be only a bit younger than myself. What is it? Captain Mountford had requested you. Come with me. Daniel gives me a smile, saying that he'll take a break. Turning my back to him, I follow the messenger through the network. My men either loitering around in some of the more open areas of the trench, or working with pickaxe and shovel in hand, trying to expand the defenses. The man leading me currently has his helmet off, revealing a small tuft of messy red hair. Curious, I ask. Are you with the Irish units? Sorry, it's just your hair. I am, don't be sorry, he interrupts. The name's William McBride, by the way. So, is it true that you cleared out the southern sector all alone? Grinning, I shake my head. No, I was just alone for, 10 minutes before I saw a friendly face. There were only 20 or so Jerrys. I don't think it's too much of a feat. McBride just looks forward as we descend a makeshift staircase. Well, the captain would disagree with you. That's the reason I'm getting you in the first place. How'd you do it? Surely those men didn't go down without a fight. And to take on 20? Men? Oh, right, I haven't heard Jerry referred to as men since I joined the army. Well, I couldn't tell you. Instinct just took over, you know? Right. McBride stops for a moment, looking at the ground. I haven't been in many battles, but I've already had my fill with this business. Bloody hell, we're not even supposed to be here. What are we, the British and Irish, doing fighting by the River Somme, the heart of France? I've heard even some lads from Australia are here. They live a whole world away. All I can do is shrug and motion to continue walking, replying with, well, we fight here so the Hun won't bring the fight home. See you later, McBride, I say as we come to the door of the captain's quarters. Here's hoping, he says. Then he turns away to go run more messages, I assume. Before I can knock, the captain's door swings wide open, and a tall, stern man who I assume is Captain Mountford rushes me in, closing the door just as fast as he opened it. Inside, the freshly dug dirt walls are lit only by a single lantern, surrounded by 4 stools, 2 of them taken up. One seats the sergeant, his face covered in mud, and another seats the kid from this morning, who looks like he's been buried alive, with dirt all over and a pale expression. Mountford proceeds to sit in one of the stools, facing me. These 2 tell me that they saw you rush into the southern sector of this trench, all alone, despite being ordered to move up with a squad. Is that true? Yes, sir. I didn't realize no one was behind me, and it was only after 10 minutes or so that I decided to seek out the rest of the men. Reports say that there were 14 German bodies in there, and this lad, Mountford points at the kid, said that he saw another 7 running out of that trench. Was that your work? It was, sir. I stand motionless, not knowing whether that kid had just earned me a medal or just condemned me to the stockades for the remainder of the war. The captain breaks the silence. Initiative like that is exactly what we need in this battle. Mountford proceeds to hand me a half-empty bottle of scotch. Yours, to enjoy, and I believe that talent like yours will go to waste as a private. What say you, Sergeant? The sergeant sits upright in his stool, clearing his throat. He would make a fine corporal, methinks. You hear that, Corporal O'Reilly? I do not let my shock show, keeping my face stoic aside from a small grin. Thank you, sir. What are your orders? Right now, go get some rest. You've earned it. Tomorrow, I'll have you help lead the charge. Dismissed, all of you. With that, I take my leave of the sergeant and the kid, who tags along with me for a little while. As soon as we're out of earshot from Mountford's quarters, I say to him, See, lad, I told you that you'd survive. What's your name? In a high-pitched voice, he answers, Smith, sir. Jonathan Smith. Taken aback, I can't help but ask, How old are you? You have to be 18 to sign on, sir, so... But he trails off, likely seeing the disbelief in my face. With a sigh, he pulls me down to his level, saying, I told the recruiter I was 15, but he said to come back tomorrow when I was 18. So the next day, I said I was 18 and, well, here I am. Look, Jonathan. I set myself on one knee, both of my hands on his shoulders. Trust me, the battlefield is no place for someone your age. Yes, you survived this encounter, but what about tomorrow? You know Jerry won't give up nearly as easily as they gave up this trench. Besides, what do your parents think? Head hanging down in shame, Jonathan replies, They think I'm down in Wales with my cousin. I just want to do my part for king and country before the war's over. When else will I be able to go on an adventure like this? Standing up, I guide the kid to his bunk, navigating past multiple men who are almost definitely more than twice his age. Jonathan, I get that you want to fight for the cause, but you're too young. Please, for your own safety, stay here tomorrow. I'll vouch for you, saying you're too sick to fight. No, I'm going to fight. The look of resolve on his face contrasts with his uniform, sleeves hanging down past his hands. He then sits on his bunk, grabs his rifle, and begins to clean it. Heading to my own quarters, I open the scotch and take a swig. Jonathan is over 5 years younger than me, and yet here he is, a child fighting not for any cause, but for his life. Well, if he's gotten this far, he can't be too bad in a scrap. Maybe the kid does have what it takes. A large gathering of men cuts off my thoughts, clamoring out of the trench over the precipices in various states of undress. Following them, I see 3 large metal objects that look like moving water tanks heading towards us, tracks flattening the wheat as some men ride atop of them. "Gentlemen," one of the riders says as the moving tanks halt, a chainmail veil shrouding his face, "look upon what will win this battle? No, this whole bloody war. We call it the Landship." "It looks like a water tank," one soldier yells from the crowd, likely trying to jest, but the rider exclaims, "Exactly. Jerry will never know what hit him, for the Landship is armored to the brim and can carry any gun, even cannons." With that, the men move up to the Landships, taking a look wherever they can. Looking at it now, I can see what the rider means. On the sides of the trapezoidal tank, 2 sponsons look like perfect positions to set up guns. Foolishly, one man asks, "What are you riding in?" "No, we've already trained some lads to operate these. Just know that tomorrow, the 2-month stalemate at this river will come to an end. Rule Britannia!" We cry into the setting sun, its fading orange light just barely illuminating my way to my own bunk. While traveling through the maze of our defenses, I see our trench mortars pounding the enemy lines with all sorts of munitions, their normally deafening boom reduced to a simple thump in my ears. All around, men ready themselves for the coming fight, cleaning rifles, sharpening bayonets. I even see Daniel leading a small group in prayer, McBride among them. After joining them for a spell, I finally crawl into my own bunk, only taking off my helmet and web gear. Most of my night is spent just laying down with my eyes closed, too nervous to fully fall asleep. Morning comes after. Despite everyone preparing themselves, all is silent in the trench, save for the constant explosions of distant mortars and the occasional gunshot from a sniper. As the corporal, I stand next to the sergeant on the ledge of the trench, my newly given service revolver in my right hand, ready to ensure men go the right way, while my left hand holds my bottle of scotch, emptied by the men requesting a drink of false courage. The silence is broken by the sparks of the sergeant. "Today, we will turn the tide and end this damned stalemate." Unlike before, no one cheers or yells. "God save the king!" And the whistle cracks through the air, forcing our lads over the parapets while I stay behind to ensure everyone leaves. Most of the men have filed out, all save for myself, Captain Mountford, and Jonathan, his grim and violent face betrayed by the puddle he stands over. After letting out a yell, he charges up to a ladder, but reaches the top only to fall back down on his back, hands clutching his throat while a red river runs down his chest. "Jonathan!" I jump down from my perch to help him apply pressure to his wound. All I hear come from him are gags and gasps for breath, the occasional bubbling of blood spewing from his youthful lips. "Leave him," Mountford commands. "The medics will do the best. Now get your ass over the top." I hastily stand upright, not bothering to wipe my hands clean, and turn away from the dying kid. In the stretch of land between us and Jerry, the wheat fields have now been desecrated by fire and shrapnel, the craters present enough to rival those found on the moon. Even though it is midday, the sun is cloaked behind a cloud of thick smoke and smog, no doubt the result of the artillery. Seeing that those who haven't been shot down are cowering behind what little cover they can find, from tiny hills to craters to even the corpses of their comrades, I join one who hides in an entanglement of barbed wire, a soldier who turns out to be McBride. "What are we doing, sir?" Despite yelling, the sounds of exchanging gunfire and indistinguishable artillery explosions make McBride's voice sound no louder than a whisper. few seconds hesitation, and I replied, "We have to wait for our landships, the tanks, to break through the enemy line. Steer yourselves!" I proceed to fire 3 shots from my rifle in the general direction of where I think the Hun is, not knowing whether my little messengers of death find them or not. For a good 10 minutes, we can do little more, McBride and I taking pot shots, but then I hear the deep rumbling of several diesel engines. Rushing behind the now visible landships, I exclaim, "Cheers, lads! Cavalry's here! Use the tanks as cover!" Those who hear my orders run as fast as their legs will carry them, some lucky enough to make it, while others fall face first into the desolate earth below. It takes a few minutes for our landships to reach the enemy lines, but when they do, everyone trailing them jumps into Jerry's trench, ready to give him our sharpened British steel. I personally hop into a side trench network, likely used for dispatching messages, and fire my rifle into a small crowd of maybe 4 Germans. Realizing that I can't cycle the bolt with my rifle fast enough to take them all out, I drop it in favor of my revolver, which is more than quick enough to deliver a swift death to all in that pit aside from me. As I move forward, a Jerry pops out from behind the box, grabbing at my throat. Not reacting clearly, I yank the bottle out of my belt and bludgeon my foe's face with it, piercing the air with shattering glass and a howl of pain the likes of which I have never heard. Small gashes line his face, blood streaked across it. But noticing that he still moves, I bring the remainder of the bottle into his chest, effectively stabbing him. When he lies motionless, I take a look at my surroundings. More of our men have moved into the trench I am in, brawling with the Germans in any method they can, whether they use their bayonets as knives or simply resort to punching their foes. The desperation can't be more visible. That is when I see one of our tanks get slammed by an artillery shell, smoke promptly rising from it. Screams emit from the metal coffin, but no one moves in to help. No one but McBride, who attempts to tear open the latch near the gun sponsor. I can see his mouth moving, his arms motioning for me to join him, but all I can hear is the souls of the dead inside the tank crying for deliverance. That deliverance comes in the form of another artillery shell. Inching towards the landship, I fail to make it in time before the shell engulfs it in flames, knocking me back. Flat on my back, all I can see now where the tank and my friend once stood is a burnt metal husk, flaming corpses strewn about. The smell is unbearable, like someone left rotting meat in a cooking pot overnight and let it set in. All I can do now is hope that McBride died quick and clean. Suddenly, I feel myself being hoisted up onto my feet. Looking at me is Daniel, his face stained with death. "The sergeant's dead," he manages to get out. "Leaving you in charge, son. Your orders?" Still in a daze, I stammer, We've... and take a deep breath. "We've got to move further into the trench. There are still 2 landships left, and if we follow this dispatch trench, it should take us right to their command. Onwards!" With caution, the men in my vicinity creep further down the winding network, and we encounter more than a few Germans along the way. We kill them with no mercy or second thought, using whatever means at our disposal. My broken bottle has become a knife, and my revolver a tool of death himself. We follow the trench for what seems like an age, until we finally reach a circular pit, wood and metal lining the walls and floor, logs acting as roofs in some areas where jury officers ponder over maps and telegraphs. Crates of unused munitions stack upon each other with no particular order. A fire rages, blocking off one pathway, likely further into Jerry's lines. Chaos cannot describe the ensuing melee, as we charge at each other head-on, a horde of grey-clad barbarians smashing into our line of khaki-wearing monsters. I say monsters, for I see one man use a rock to smash one German to death, another chokes one out, and I myself shoot 6 of our foes, who proceed to dive into the mud at our feet, and then drop my pistol entirely as I use my bottle to shred the torso of another, the tatters of his flesh and uniform all over. Thinking the day as one, I notice Daniel, staring into the nearby fire, his expression as cold as stone. He mutters, "They have come." Who? Pestilence, famine, war, and death. From the inferno, I can indeed see 4 men atop horses, sabers in hand, shrouds hiding their faces, and pointed helmets covered in soot. Those of us who do not cower and find a place to hide are easily run down, the roaring of the horses nightmare-inducing. I attempt to pull Daniel out of the way, but a German sword from atop a white horse slashes across his chest, spewing warm crimson onto my face. In anger, I grab a hold of my revolver, reload it, and fire every shot into the horse responsible. Reload again, then take out his comrades. All of the horses fall to the ground, but Daniel's killer dismounts from his fallen white horse, readying his saber. Before I can reload my revolver, he rushes at me, leaving me to spot a trained swordsman with only a bottle. Catching his blade in between 2 prongs of glass protruding from my knife, I push it towards his shrouded face, forcing him to drop his weapon, with mine still caught on it. While he's off guard, I make a right hook at his face, then a left, then a right, then a left until he too finally collapses onto the ground. But I do not stop. Pinning him down, I proceed to land my vicious blow on the horseman. I land more and more until his shroud and helmet come loose, revealing the face of, not death, but rather that of a young, terrified boy. His blue eyes pierce into me, begging for mercy, though he doesn't say a single word. Standing up, I bring him to his knees, and he keeps his hands behind his head, knowing that I'm watching. Finally, some other soldiers come and take the boy off, informing me that the rest of the German trench has fallen. I climb out of the command post, looking out onto the stretch of no man's land before me. What I see are not the sights of victory. What I see are the wrecks of machines of a new age. The bodies of men on both sides of this conflict, piled and stacked indiscriminately. No one cheers, no one cries. No one breathes a word. The sun's golden honey does little to sweeten the landscape, as most of it is blocked out by the ash rolling over the German lines. All the while, my own lines taunt us from just a mere field away, no further than 62 yards.
Up to your waist in water, up to your eyes in sludge, using the kind of language that makes the sergeant blush. Oh, wouldn't join the army, that's what we all inquire. Don't we pity the poor civilian sitting around the fire? Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. It's a lovely war. Wouldn't be a soldier, eh? Oh, it's a shame to take the pain. As soon as rebellion's gone, we feel just as heavy as lead. But we never get up to the sergeant brings the breakfast up to bed. Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. What do we want with eggs and ham when we got plum and apple jam? Home for the right turn, how do we spend the money we earn? Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. Oh, wouldn't be a soldier, eh? Oh, it's a shame to take the pay. As soon as the valley is gone, we feel just as heavy as lead. But we never get up to the sergeant brings our breakfast up to bed. What? Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. What do we want with eggs and ham when we got plum and apple jam?